Well, the IEC is holding a seminar to encourage young people to vote in Polokwane. But are they interested? And what is their view on the cities and townships they live in? Well, our reporter Moloko Moloto is finding out for us. He joins us now live. Moloko, I was tracking your conversation just a little earlier on ENCA, where the guest was telling you that 65% of South Africa is made up of young people. She was saying young people are not the future, they are the now. But the numbers that we are seeing, just in terms of registered voters in this category of young people, tells a different story.
Absolutely, Michelle. In fact, the IEC has revealed that there are about 9 to 10 million South Africans who are eligible to vote, but they have not registered to vote. So they are going to miss out on that opportunity. Now, what is even more startling, Michelle, is that 6 million of those people are young people, and they have not registered to vote as well. They are going to miss out on that opportunity. And we heard from the national chairperson of the IEC, Ndatetlen Mashineni, pointing out that it was young people like Onkgopotse Abraham Tiro who influenced others such as Tsietsi Mashineni. We know that the uprising in Soweto in 1976, it was led by young people. Now, when young people in their majority are not interested in participating in our democratic order, the question therefore is who should take the blame? And that is exactly the question that I'm going to pose to Ndate Mashineni. Sir, thank you so much for making time. So many young people who can actually, if they were to vote for one political party, they can make it a governing party or an opposition party. Who must shoulder the blame?
I'm not sure if it's a question of having any particular blame. What we are saying is we are 25 years of democracy. We are celebrating that we are sitting at 75% participation rate as a country. We are also saying this is an excellent achievement for a young democracy. However, as the Commission is saying, it's still one too many that have not come through. And we are not stopping. We will continue, and hence we are meeting with young people and reviewing and critiquing those things to say, going forward, what are some of the measures that we need to bring in to make participation in our multi-party democracy attractive to young people?
Yes, let's talk about the interest that young people, or lack of it, that young people are having on the politics. Your colleague, the provincial electoral officer in Limpopo, Ngaroma Teta, did indicate earlier that, citing a study done by the University of Johannesburg, which pointed out that young people don't have interest in what she referred to as formal politics. How do you think the political parties will have to, what role do you think they must play in order to attract these young people?
Well, I think first and foremost, we are going for elections. Let's get those who are registered, all of them, to come to the polls. That's the first part, so that we can have what would be a reasonable, authentic representation being in office, and a higher level of confidence that the people that are representing are actually there because of the will of the people of this country, including young people. But going forward, yes, indications are that there's either a disillusionment or a mistrust. And this now manifests itself also in going outside of the parameters of our formal politics. So it's not that people are not interested in the issues. They are in the forefront, especially in some of the social unrest that we experience as a country. But they use other means rather than the formal means, because some of the studies are saying they do not feel that them voting and participating in the elections makes a difference. So elected representatives need to be much more involved and get young people to realize that they can make a difference and their participation is important for this democracy. And so it is it's a work in progress.
Let me ask you quickly about the point that you made. You said as the IEC, per every weekend registration campaign, you spend approximately 200 million rand, and you had 2 weekend registration campaigns. So we're talking of over half a billion there. The question, therefore, is that since we don't have unlimited funds, what then should be happening? Because this clearly is a societal issue.
Yes, I think that's a very good question, and it's a futuristic question, where we are saying that the amount of money per capita being spent in getting voters either to update their details and addresses and young people to come and register. In the last round, we've achieved 85% success in meeting the constitutional imperative. But the reality is that the other side of it, $750 million at the minimum was spent by the Commission and the political parties to mobilize people to come through. Now, if we look at that, the point I was illustrating is that how many RDP houses does it cost for a person to come and register? And so there aren't those unlimited resources. We need to continue as a nation and as a country to find other ways of reaching those that are still outside of the voting process. But as a Commission, we are very much pleased as where we are, and we are saying, come the election day, we're calling all the South Africans to come out in large numbers and mark this 25th anniversary of our democracy by coming to participate in our multi-party democracy peacefully and celebrate our democracy.
Another very important point that you made was that young people and voters in general, you caution that they need to take democracy seriously, even making reference to some of the states across our continent and in other parts of the world where democracy doesn't exist. How important is it that we as voters should really keep that in mind?
Well, this is the point, that our democracy was not secured like a manna from heaven. People fought, sacrificed, and some of them even paid the highest price. And it has ushered what is an important in our society is that everybody's will can be heard by the state. Now, what one was comparing is that look across the world and see those countries that don't have a multi-party democracy. You'll see the suffering that's going on there. You'll see the lack of social services. You'll see poor housing. You'll see disease. You'll see hunger, famine, death. Now, we in South Africa, yes, we still are aspiring for more and for better. But comparatively speaking, we're not doing badly. And therefore, we need to cherish what we have. And we are appealing that let's demonstrate that by coming out and saying, yes, what was fought for and secured in terms of democracy, I am for it. But further than that, how it should now represent your will as a citizen. Those who come into office must be there because you have put them in there. So that's what we are motivating.
Glenn Mashinini, he is the national chairperson of the Independent Electoral Commission. Just on a parting shot, Michelle, one point that he did mention when he was addressing the audience was that as much as they would love to have more people coming out to register and participate in the elections, as South Africa, we're really not doing badly, considering that he said voter registration is standing at around 74.5%, even saying that in other countries, actually voting is compulsory. And what comes to mind here is Australia, where, for instance, everybody is compelled to vote. And given the fact that hardly, I'm not aware of any country in the world where voter turnout stands at 100%. However, as we're going into these elections, the important thing is whether this number of people who are registered will all come out in their large numbers to cast their vote.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, in our coverage of this issue, Moloko, we've heard a number of people talking to us about their indecision as we head to the polls on May 8th, with many of them saying even though they have, in fact, registered, they're not sure whether they will actually pitch up at the polling station on that day.
Indeed. In fact, One point that Mr. Mashinini also raised when he was addressing the audience was that you will have people who say that I simply did not go out to vote, reason being that I did not feel that my vote will make a difference. Yes, if you consider the fact that perhaps for a political party to even win the elections, as we saw in 2014, the ANC got approximately 11 votes. It is possible that as an individual you might think that 11 million votes, when you compare to one vote that you will be casting as an individual, perhaps you may not make a difference. But the fact of the matter is that if you're not voting for the party that you want, others will vote for parties that they want, and that is where the difference will be seen in the end when the results come out.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, so many people fought, so many people died, so many families were affected so that we could have this democratic vote. Thanks very much for that. My colleague Moloko Moloto